What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here inside the nerdy realm within the multiverse. We got the second episode of the Miss Marvel series, so today we are going to go back through it and break it down, then give our thoughts on the episode itself. Obviously, as usual, since we are going back through the episode and breaking it down, as well as giving our thoughts on it, there will be spoilers in this video. So if you do not want to hear anything spoilery, this is your spoiler warning now. Feel free to come back when you have seen the episode yourself. So now that that is out of the way, let's begin going back through this episode and breaking it down, so then we can give our thoughts on the episode as well. Of course, last episode Kamala got her powers, and this episode really starts to unfold the history of the Bangle, her family, and possibly her powers as well. We get more and more of that high school and family environment throughout this episode as well, whether it's Kamala going to a party or her day at school after receiving her powers, walking through the halls like she's the coolest person on campus. And it seems throughout this episode, through little hints and nods here and there, that Kamala may actually still be an Inhuman in the MCU like she was in the comics. And maybe it was her great-grandmother that gets talked about a lot in this episode that was the one to pass down Inhuman powers and the gene. As Bruno is using his tablet to read Kamala's vitals, this really gives us a hint that she could be an Inhuman in the MCU, as he tells her that her power isn't coming from the Bangle, but it is coming from within her. So it seems like the Bangle was the thing to unlock her powers, but they were always there to begin with, making me really think that she will be an Inhuman in the MCU, like Black Bolt, who we just saw in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We get one of those cool training montages as Kamala tries to take full control and really get a hang of her new hard light powers. During this, we do get a little bit of a callback to Endgame when Kamala is falling off the roof and tells Bruno to let go. Just a little reference, an Easter egg to Black Widow's death in Endgame when Hawkeye had to let her go. And towards the end of the training montage, it really does seem like Kamala has control over her powers and mostly now knows what she is doing. Nakia and Kamala go to the mosque, where we get a look at the religious and cultural life, but also how separated they feel from the men in their culture, as their side of the mosque is not as nice, and as Nakia says, their side has moldy floors, crumbling tiles, and less security, as Nakia's shoes get stolen, which we can actually see who stole them later in the episode, as Kamala, Bruno, and Nakia are at the Eid Mubarak celebration. The kid that is falling off the building that Kamala saves is wearing Nakia's shoes, which was pretty funny and ironic. Of course, in this episode, Kamala meets Kamran, who is actually an Inhuman himself as well in the comics, and throughout this episode his character has a lot of the color blue surrounding him, as well as in Kamala's imagination he is completely blue, which if it is a reference to anything, it most likely is to his powers that he had in the comics, as he took on a blue-like form after his encounter with the Terrigen Mist. Kamala seems to be really forming a big crush on Kamran, and you can really tell that Bruno is getting jealous, but lucky for him, Kamran seems to have been targeting Kamala to get more information on her Bangle and her powers. And we actually get a few little hints of this throughout the episode, as they are in the restaurant. He puts his hand directly on the spot that Kamala is wearing her Bangle, as he may possibly be doing all of this for his mother, and he may end up having his comic book powers himself, or something similar to them in the MCU as well. Kamala and her grandmother actually speak with one another in this episode over the phone about the Bangle, but when Kamala asks about it, her grandmother says which one, so maybe there is more than one Bangle, and maybe Kamran's mother or someone else is in possession of it. Bruno gets accepted into early admission at Caltech, but now he seems very hesitant over it and doesn't seem to want to be a part of it, as he clearly wants to be around Kamala more than anything. While Kamran and Kamala talk about Bollywood films and stars, that they actually mention Kingo, who of course is a member of the Eternals. During the family dinner stories, Kamala's father tells stories of the British partition with India, which was a horrible and sad event in our timeline. He continues to tell stories of it and then starts talking about Maniva's mother being a part of it and how she got stranded at the train station getting separated from her father, where he goes back and forth with Amir and then Kamala to finish the story, and how she followed a trail of stars back to her father. Yusuf then starts talking about Maniva's grandmother and how she disappeared after all of this and nobody knows what actually happened to her or where she went, which triggers the Bangle to start to glow and react to this, as we see Kamala's eyes turn purple and then a portal on the other side of the room opens, as we see a figure on the other side looking at Kamala and holding her hand out. After Kamala saves the kid from falling off the building, she freezes up as another portal or projection opens opens up in front of her as the same figure from the dinner table stands in front of her holding her hand out. This figure is supposedly supposed to be her great-grandmother as well. After landing in the alleyway, 2 drones chase after her. These are the same drones that we saw in Far From Home. They are now just modified and used by the FBI or DODC. Cameron seems to show up almost perfectly to save Kamala and get her out of there, but of course this is no coincidence and neither was the meeting, as his mother pops up in the back seat very ominously and tells Kamala that she has been waiting a very long time to meet her. Najma looks identical to the woman that Kamala has been seeing in the projections or portals earlier in this episode, who was supposed to be her great-grandmother. So is Najma actually her great-grandmother, and maybe the reason Najma hasn't aged is because of the family's secret inhuman powers and lineage. There seems to be a lot of questions and mysteries that we will hopefully learn soon in this series, so we will have to wait and see how this all unfolds, and I am excited to see where the show continues to go. I really enjoyed this episode, and this series continues to surprise me with how well it is doing and how entertaining and good it has been. As I said before, I was a bit worried about this series, but that is no longer the case, and I am hyped for every episode now. With all of that being said, make sure to let us know what you thought of the episode down in the comments below. And as always, if you are feeling extra nerdy today, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on to help support the channel and to get more nerdy content from us. And if you wish to support us even further, feel free to check out the links in the description. As I always say, thank you all for watching, and we will see you all the next time that we go through and explore the nerdy multiverse.